everyone. Very happy to introduce Jo Callaghan, who's joining us to talk about her debut novel and going to tell us a little bit about it now.
Hi everyone, thank you for watching, and thank you to Caroline for asking me on this podcast. So this is my crime debut called In the Blink of an Eye, and it tells the story of a detective called DCS Kat Frank, who returns to work after the death of her husband, and she reluctantly agrees to take part in a pilot of an AI detective, so AIDLOC, that's short for Artificially Intelligent Detecting Entity. And Locke manifests itself as a hologram. As I said, now Kat is very skeptical about AI. She makes decisions according to her gut and her instinct, whereas Locke, as an AI deep learning machine, makes decisions according to their algorithms, evidence, and very much logic. So as you can imagine, the two very much clash at the start. But when they have to investigate the case of two missing boys, they have to find a way to work together in order to save lives as the case progresses. So it's a different take on a police procedural. I guess police procedure is probably the genre, but with the AI angle. But also, I was keen to really focus on what it's like to be a sort of 49-year-old woman returning to work when you're in a leadership position, but you've got a lot of emotional baggage and trauma to deal with yourself. So some of it, I hope, is about love and loss and grief. So I think it's hopefully moving in parts, but also quite funny because the clash between Locke and Kat, obviously, so that's humorous. So I hope you find it an entertaining and pacey read. I've written it to be sort of a page turner, hopefully. So I hope it will entertain you and also make you think about what it means to be human. So I'm really interested to hear what people think and if you've had a chance to read it. Yeah.
Well, we've got a few hellos already. So Laura Hamilton said hello. A couple of people have said hello that just say Facebook user. So has Sam said hello to us. Who else? Oh, Susan Polar said hello. And so has
I don't know what time she's in Australia, so goodness knows what time it is there.
Probably like some ridiculous time in the morning. I'm going to guess. Susan, tell us what time it is in Australia. Have you heard your book described as speculative as well? Because it kind of asks a big what-if question, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I should have said, actually, because it's set slightly in the future. It's just a few years. So it's not sci-fi. It's a police procedure, and I've deliberately sort of tried to edit sort of a few unspecified years in the future. So I'm trying to take technology that mostly exists either now or is on the horizon, and then just trying to say speculate what would that mean, because I think we're all going to have to start thinking about how will we work with and alongside AI in our own lives. So I was quite keen to sort of provoke that conversation and those thoughts now, the sort of what if and so what, in terms of therefore how do we work alongside AI.
Susan says it's 5:30 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
She's been up
watching skating.
Yeah. Wow. Commitment. Being up watching at 5:30 a.m. That is real commitment.
Yeah. Susan's been a really big supporter. Yeah, thank you.
It must be good when you're a debut author getting people who are behind you and supporting the book.
Yeah. It's incredible because people do. Because I'm a big reader. Well, I should say I've been writing for 13 years. So if people say a debut author, I feel like that meme of the Titanic with the old woman. It's been 13 years. But yeah, and you all seen the acknowledgements. People all thank bloggers and reviewers and readers, and it's kind of just a line. But when it actually happens, it is really moving. I used to review books on Amazon all the time, and I know how much time it takes. And people would thank you, people like yourself. But then you realise how much it does make you cry sometimes. It's really moving. Oh my God, someone's really read your book. They like it. They're moved by it. It's really moving. And, you know, people like you and reviewers and bloggers, the time you take out of your own lives to both write what you think and share it with the world and the author, it is amazing. Yeah.
We always say, me and Sam, who do the author chats, that it's kind of us doing what we love, though. We're in the privileged position of getting to talk to all the people who write the books that we love. So it doesn't feel like a job. It is like a job, but it doesn't feel like it.
It's not like a job. I think it's just, I don't know. I guess because you spend so long writing it yourself, and then you share it with family, or I've got beta. I've got a couple of beta readers, Lindsay and Lex, who are fantastic. But it's then when you show it with somebody who doesn't know you, they haven't paid for the book, they're not a friend. When somebody you don't know says they like it, that's just like, it's like the ultimate validation, because they're not just being kind or whatever. It's really lovely.
So Laura said she's intrigued by the idea. Did you have expert help when creating the character?
Yeah,
about Locke there.
Yeah, Locke. Yeah, so aid Locke. So yeah, so in my day job, I specialise in thinking about the future workforce. So I've done some research in the amount of AI and genomics, which I know you're expert on, Kaz. So I knew some of the issues, but I did because originally when I wrote it, I had Locke as a sort of an audio device. It was really just an audio capability, but in order to bring it more to life, I made it more of a hologram, and I had to understand more about deep learning and possibilities. And so then I did draw on the expertise at Warwick University, so Professor Giovanni Montana, and him and his team, that the sort of Turing fellows of Turing Institute at Warwick University, and also more recently Professor Ryan Calo at University of Washington. He's got a team there also looking at the issues of AI, not just from a technological perspective, but from a sort of almost a philosophical, conceptual perspective. Really, really interesting people. So everyone's really generous with their time. And I think a lot of scientists are really keen for us to help on fiction, because they know that's a good way of actually exposing a lot of the issues. They know what the issues are, but it's hard to get the attention and the debate going if you're just writing in those niche expertise sort of forums. So I found people really generous with their time, because they're grateful for the opportunity to air these issues in a more public way.
I think there's also a lot of misconceptions about science that come out through like the public things, like all these adverts that are like, it kills viruses and things which you can't really kill, and things like that. So there's a really good, is it like Ben Goldacre?
Yeah,
He's like a doctor, and he writes really good things about like bad science.
Exactly.
Sort of use it in adverts like really wrongly and things. It's quite nice when like people consult and get it right, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I tried my hardest, but there's bound to be errors, or there always is. So, and I use the chief scientific officer for NHS England as well. So I was very lucky with the experts, but I have said, as ever, any mistakes are mine, and some of them I have because it is fiction. So Locke's live conversation abilities, that's the one thing that actually isn't on the horizon yet. But obviously, for it to work as a dramatic piece, we needed to sort of extrapolate that. But then again, things are moving so fast with GPT and other things. So it is. I was trying to write things that was sort of plausible, if not probable, was my test to myself. It has to be, possible. If not probable.
So before we went live, we talked about Mike Craven, didn't we? And the fact that we love his books. He's sort of hit a winner with Tilly and Poe as being a great kind of double act. And I kind of feel like you've sort of almost locked onto the same thing.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah. So I have to give us, I'd never read Mike until last summer. So I'd written the first one. I was only, I was halfway through the second one. And I thought the same as you, because Poe and Tilly, if people don't know it, you've got Detective sort of Washington Poe and his sort of sidekick Tilly, and he's very instinctive, and Tilly is she's almost like a human version of Locke. So when I first read it, I thought, oh my god, it's a really similar dynamic. So I read all his series this year, and if you've not read it, The Puppet Show is the first one. The Botanist is the most recent. He is fantastic and really funny, but they are very similar dynamic. It's just that my detective, was the AI Locke, is an AI machine as opposed to another person. But yeah, I love his work.
But I think you've hit on a thing with Locke and Pat in that sort of relationship. That's what I was saying more. Like you've kind of hit on that really good relationship between them. Yeah. I don't know if you can call it a relationship.
Yeah, I know, because it's the language. I'm trying to show, if people have read it, so I'm trying to say that initially obviously there isn't a relationship because Locke is a machine, Cat is a skeptical human being. But I'm trying to show over the course of the novel and indeed the series that a kind of relationship does develop, and also try to show, well, not show, I try and keep it neutral, but allow the reader to make their own mind up to what extent Locke can or would develop consciousness or human characteristics. Because as you'll see, some people in the book will call Locke he, and Cat always says it's an it. She's very clear it's an it, it's a machine. But some of the things it says or does makes you think, oh, is it developing some sort of consciousness? So I deliberately try and sit on the fence. And by that, I'm drawing on things like Spock in Star Trek, or Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator. I think films that do this really well always leave that question mark about, and just when you start to think that that character's becoming more human, they do something that makes you realise, no, they're not. But you can interpret it how you want to, and hopefully with some humour as well.
I think it's a really interesting debate, isn't it? Because not only through the book are you wondering whether, instinct or logic are better, you're also debating what it is that makes someone a person.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
some things sentient. I've just read another book that does that really well, but it's like sci-fi.
Oh right, yeah.
And it's sort of questioning what it is that makes something a thinking being.
Exactly. And that's what Turing, Alan Turing rose that question in 1936, and we still haven't really, that's what surprised me. I'd done quite a lot of research into AI before this, but I didn't realise how little we knew about the human brain, that actually we don't know what makes human consciousness. Even so when we talk about how do we know a machine has consciousness, we don't actually know how to do that with a human. That's where the quote I've got at the beginning of the book, the sort of epigraph, says the mystery that surrounds a thinking machine already surrounds a thinking man, because none of us know really what goes on inside another human being's head. And also I was trying to show that although we give a lot of attention and scrutiny to how machines make decisions, we don't know how human beings make decisions. When we say gut instinct, hunches, is that prejudice, bias, and or is it people making decisions that are too fast? Are they using evidence, but it's in a way that's too fast and most brains to sort of comprehend? So I'm trying to sort of tease that out and again be quite neutral, because Locke argues it irritates again. Does it feel irritation? But it expresses a view that humans seem to assume that they are at the apex of development, and that machines have to aspire to be humans. But Locke argues that humans are deeply irrational, or that decisions are flawed by emotional and experiential biases. And there's a huge assumption in there that we anthropomorphize machines because we think humans are the sort of pinnacle of development, which Locke challenges.
There's some really good books about human consciousness and the scientific research into them. The guy who discovered the structure of DNA, or one of the scientists who discovered the structure of DNA, went on to look at consciousness in really deep detail. His books are quite fascinating and worth having a look at.
Yeah, I'm just writing that down. Thank you. Add that to my to-read pile.
Francis Crick, you want to look for?
Oh, Francis Crick, yeah. Okay. Great, thank you.
You said earlier through the series, is there going to be more with?
Yes. So I've written book 2. There's a draft of it just with my editor and my agent. And if they're watching, I'm just waiting for feedback. Very patiently, I'm not worried at all. So I'm really excited about that one. And I'm just about to start writing book 3. Because in my head, it's this arc of, if Locke is a machine capable of deep learning, so how much can it learn? And what issues arise when it does? And one of the key, if people are interested in these issues, last year, the Reith Lectures, Professor Stuart Russell did 3 really interesting lectures, and they're really funny. I know it sounds like it's really difficult, but actually, if you listen to them when you're cooking or cleaning or something, they're really entertaining, and he exposes all the big issues about what happens unless we get ahead of the curve and think about what we want AI to do for us, then they will very quickly be cleverer than we are, and we won't have that choice anymore. I've just said it, that's not very funny, is it? That's quite scary. But he says sort of that, but with more jokes. That's what I'm trying to do in terms of over the series, show that arc of development and flesh out some of those bigger questions. Yeah.
Susan wants to know how you named Locke.
Good question. So that was because in my head, so Professor Okunido is the woman who develops Locke. So part of her backstory is I think she's always a fan of Sherlock, and because Sherlock is also a person who makes decisions according to logic, is slightly other in most depictions, and so that's I sort of imagined Locke's first name being Shirley, and that's sort of quite often used for men, like we spelled with an I, and then Locke, which is just sort of a Professor Okunido's little nod to herself for Sherlock.
I liked her little nerdy reference to Marvel as well.
Yeah, with Chadwick Boseman, and because again, in her image, you think about she'd have been growing up as a young Black woman, being inspired by the Wakanda films, and so I think Chadwick Boseman died when I was writing the book, and I thought actually if she was building a holographic image, a Black woman would have thought. Again, most AI depictions depict them as white, so I was quite keen to think she would actually wanted to be Black, and a hero of hers would have been Chadwick Boseman. So it's not a direct replica, because obviously she says that wouldn't be respectful, but that was her inspiration to create a man in his 30s with presence and grace, and some of the learning data it has in terms of how to move and mimic the mannerisms of a human. Chadwick Boseman would have been a key part of its training data or source data.
Sam wants to know what challenges you faced when you were writing the book. She said, what challenges did you face when you were writing In the Blink of an Eye, and were they different than you expected?
So part I probably need to explain. So I did, as I said, I've been writing for 13 years, so I've had lots of challenges on the way. When I wrote this one, this was in 2019, and I'd had the idea 2 years before, but basically my husband was very ill with lung cancer, and then so I couldn't write. And then when he died, literally, and this sounds awful, but a few weeks after he died, I needed to keep myself busy to stop myself from going mad. So I wrote that every night, because I work full time, and they just said, because at the night I had nothing else to do, I just essentially wrote that. So I guess the challenge was just to keep at it and not go under, because I've got 2 teenage children. So the book really helped me. It was me processing. So I should have said that's why DCS Cat Frank is a widow. So lots of issues in there were just me processing. So it kind of wrote itself. This sounds really awful because I don't remember a lot about writing. It didn't feel hard compared to other books I'd researched and written, but also I think because I needed to write it. So it's a long answer. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, if that answers your question, but that's the honest answer.
Are there any other books that you've researched and written that might see the light of day?
I used to write YA. So I think because I started writing when my kids were I followed them. So the first couple were middle grade. Then I progressed to YA. Wrote a really complex sort of Dan Brown-esque sort of duology. But then the last one I wrote, the last YA one, was a time slip novel, and I would like to go back to that, but maybe write it as an adult one. I do love time slip stories. Some people you love them, hate, but I love time slip stories. So I always think I'd like to go back and take elements of that and salvage it and write that as an adult one day. But we'll see.
Sounds good. Sarah wants to know how you keep track of your characters. Do you keep notes of your characters anywhere?
So the honest answer is, when I wrote the other books, I used to do really complicated, you do all the writing courses and read all that, and I did character profiles, and I could tell you what they ate and what their favorite thing was, and filled in all these questionnaires and invented all these people. And again, when I wrote these, I didn't do that at all. I imagined Kat, I just thought, well, she's my age, so I just imagine if someone like me joined the police force 25 years ago, what would I be like? And I kind of just used myself and exaggerated some features, and I thought I'd give her more of a personality later. So I just kind of and Locke just evolved. He just grew on the page. I know people say it's really annoying, people say that, isn't it? But start off a bit wooden, because it was just an oral device, and then just grew as I wrote it. So I didn't do much keeping track of and drafting them, but I'm realizing now as I write book 2 and 3, this is where I have to start remembering, oh God, when did this happen? When did that happen? And capture their backstories a bit more, because thinking a series, that's when it gets complicated, isn't it? To try and keep track of people's backstories and when anniversaries are and things like that. So I think I need to be a bit more disciplined going forward. That's a reminder, that question, I'll have to do that.
Well, those people manage who properly like pants their books. People can still write theories and like keep track
No,
of what they're doing.
I am a planner, so I do plot first. I'm a plotter and a planner. But I think people say there's people who plan and people who pants. I just think we approach it from different ends, because so book 3, I've had that in my head probably for, I don't know, best part of a year, but I haven't started writing it yet. So whereas by the time I come to write it, I'll kind of know what I'm doing, and it won't take many drafts to get it down. Whereas I think people who so-called pants it, their thinking process is as they're writing. So they're doing what I'm doing, but moving their fingers at the same time. Whereas I tend to go for a walk or just think. So I think although they sound like very different processes, my hypothesis is that they're just quite similar. It's just some people need to actively write to think, whereas I don't write until I've thought it out. And they're just different ways to get to the same place.
You've had quite a long lead in with proofs to the release of this, haven't you? Because I got my proof at Harrogate, like last year, and it's only come out in like the last week or so.
Yeah, I know. So with episode, as I say, I had the idea of the book in 2017. I wrote it in 2019. Then during 2020, we had COVID. So I shared it with my agent, but obviously everyone was in lockdown. We did a few edits. There wasn't any point sending it out. So it was we submitted it, I think, in the March 21, which is when Simon Schuster, my editor, Catherine Armstrong, bought it. So it was sold in March 21. And she said to me then, we'll be published in January 23. So it's like nearly 2 years. I was like, really? Has gone really quickly. But yeah, that's the lead-in time for publishing. It's just incredible. So March 21. And then it wasn't until the following summer that we brought out proofs at Harrogate. Yeah, the summer just gone. 6-month lead-in time, which seems really long, but actually now I understand it's because people like yourself, you've got huge to be read piles. You get proofs all the time, so it's to give people the chance to read them, I guess, and then comes out in January. I don't know.
I have a huge TBR pile. I don't get lots of proofs there.
That is a lot. Well, we'll get you. There's lots of proofs out there, but yeah, I don't know, publishing.
How is what have you done to celebrate the release? You had an event in Brighton.
Yeah, we had a launch. I was really lucky, actually. CJ Tudor, whose latest novel is called The Drift, it's a beautiful red book that I have at hand just now. We published on the same day. She wrote The Chalk Man and A Sliver of Darkness. She's a massive writer, and she really kindly offered to do a joint launch with me in Brighton. So we had a launch for the book, and just some friends and family and people from the publisher. So it was really lovely, actually. I was really nervous the week before, but checking all my Amazon rankings and the review, all the things people tell you not to do, I couldn't stop doing. I got myself in a right tizzy. And then actually it was just lovely to be by the seaside with people we knew, and then just think it's out there now. It's up to the world what it makes of the book. And it was just lovely, actually. It really was.
Has it been going well since it's been released? You got lots of good reviews, and
yeah, I think it's amazing. As I say, if I say it now, I feel like someone's going to give me terrible reviews. But so far, everyone's been so lovely. So on Amazon, like literally every review's been like 5-star, and a lot of people. Well, I've noticed people sort of saying, "Oh, I don't usually read crime, but I really like this," or "I don't normally read sci-fi, but I liked this," or so yeah, I imagine this can't lack. If this can't last, but so far everyone's been so lovely and supportive. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's been really, really lovely.
Sam said she saw the lovely launch pics on Twitter. It looked like you all had a great night. It really did, actually.
Yeah, it really did. And Kaz was great, and lots of other writers who came as well. People travelled. People are really kind. You know, my children are teenagers. They were all quite anxious and as well. But actually, you forget people who read. Actually, when I did my first book event in Durham with Fiona Sharp, Durham Waterstones, I was really nervous about that. And then when I went, because I thought, oh God, I've got to sit at a table and sign books, and what do I say? It's going to be embarrassing, it'll be terrible. But it was just lovely, because you just reminded me that people who read are lovely, aren't they? People who read books, write books, they're all lovely people. And they're just coming into a bookshop because they're looking for a story. They're looking for the next read, and they want to be told about new books. So it's just that reminder that book people are lovely. And the same as in Brighton, you're surrounding yourself with really lovely, kind, interesting and interested people. I mean, we're biased because we're all lovely, aren't we? But that's what's nice about it, I think.
When is book 2 scheduled for release?
It's not scheduled. I think it might be. I don't want to get told off, but it might be January 24. That's my working assumption until told otherwise. This one came out January 23. I don't know if it's scheduled yet. So apologies, Catherine, if that's wrong. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get feedback on the draft I've sent in soon. Where are we now? February. Yeah, there'll be some edits, I guess. And then, yeah, same old journey, I guess, to publication, which has seemed slow, then suddenly it's here.
Was it quite hard to get in the mind of Locke when you were writing it for him? Because of the way it is very cold and logical.
Yeah. Not that hard, because I was just trying to sort of think, what would so there's a couple of things that I did. So, for example, Locke watches the film Casablanca, and he can watch films in a few seconds. But so I sat down and watched. It was Saturday afternoon, and Casablanca was on, and I watched it, and I thought, what would Locke make of this? And just tried to watch it rationally, and you just watch the human beings like Humphrey Bogart. You know, says he hates everybody and is selfish, but does really kind things. And Ingrid Bergman says she doesn't love him, but kisses him. And I was just thinking, a machine watching this is going to think, everyone's saying one thing and doing another. What is going on? You know, everybody is lying. Of course, the beauty of the film is that no one speaks the truth because they're in a heart, and it's quite emotional because of that. But if a machine would watch it, literally trying to make sense of what was going on. So I found it quite easy to sort of just take things at face value. So again, there's another bit where Locke is giving its opinion in the police in the headquarters, and Kat gets annoyed and says, "Oh, would you like to take over?" And he says, "Yes, I would." Yeah, just literally takes things at face value and has no understanding of sarcasm, or also because it's been programmed not to defer to authority, but to always seek the truth. I had a lot of fun with that, because you just think, actually, if we really did have no filter, and we didn't defer to authority, and we just answered questions literally and said what we thought, then that's the sort of thing that they would say. So I didn't find it hard. I find it quite fun, I think. Yeah.
I would imagine it would be quite fun,
Yeah.
in a way, having no filter.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then you say, and then I have no fun thinking, actually, but does it? Because sometimes you think, is Locke being sarcastic? It's so cheeky when it says it, but you think, actually, can't be sarcastic because it's a machine. Or can it? You see, you start sort of wondering, sort of what, because it's capable of deep learning. So does it learn to be sarcastic, and gets away with quite a lot because it just, so I see.
Karen has said hello. She is our third author chat person.
Hi.
Sam said, "How are you managing to balance promoting?"
How am I balancing what? Sorry. Oh,
yeah. Tricky question. How do you manage, because you work full time?
Yeah, I'm finding it hard. Yeah, not gonna lie, because I've always worked full time. I've always written nights, weekends, or mornings, depending on how old the children are and what's going on. But I've always envied other writers who don't work, and thinking, you know, anyway. But they said to me before, you can write and work full time on your first, but once you've got published, that becomes a lot harder, because it is the social media, the events, the visits. So yeah, I have found that difficult the past few weeks. That's another thing I need to think about, how I diarise my time and the weekend, and doing events. So I've had to take quite a few. Like I took 2 days off for the launch to go to Brighton and get back. The Durham thing was on a Saturday, but you can see how you get a lot of manual leave. Several book festivals next year, so all my annual leave is structured around book festivals. But yeah, so I need to think about that a bit more. Just if you buy millions of copies of my books, I won't have that problem. But
are you going to any book festivals this year?
Yeah. So the first one, because I was caring for my husband and also my youngest, I've not been to book festivals before. My first one was Harrogate, just the summer gone, and that was great. And so this year, fingers crossed, everyone being well, I will go to Bay Tales. That's the first one in March. If you look at Bay Tales on Twitter, there's Anne Cleves is sort of the key organizer of that, and I'll be on a panel with Ruth Ware and Jack Jordan, which I'm very excited about. So that'll be my first literary festival. And I'm also at Crime Fest in Bristol in May. I've never been to that one, so that's really exciting. Hoping to go to Harrogate again, and also Bloody Scotland in September in Stirling, which I've never been to, but I want one of those tortures. So yeah, I'm really looking. And I went to Capital Crime last year, as you should have said as well. So if that's on, I'll attend that as well. But they're really great sociable places. And what I love about them in the crime community is that other writers go, what I've observed from the two that I've been to, all the two, people like Mike Craven, big authors, really successful. They don't just parachute in and do their talk and go. They're there to listen and learn from other authors. Crime writing particularly seems to be very constantly learning and stretching themselves, and then supporting other debut authors like me, and hanging out in the bar and socializing and making friends with people. It's a really, really lovely, friendly, supportive community. Whereas, on paper, we should all be competing. We should all be wrestling in a sack and fighting. It's not like that at all. It's I'm looking forward to going to the crime festivals, and would recommend them if you've never been, because readers and writers mix at most of these crime festivals really equally.
Someone was at Capital Crime last year. She hosted a panel.
Yeah.
We're hosting our own crime festival.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When's that?
It is in June in Leeds.
Oh, fantastic.
We have, who's our headline? Our headline is a Brighton Massive. We've got Ellie G, Leslie Thompson and William Shaw.
Yeah, I would have put this. There's so many great writers in Brighton. William Shaw hosted the panel I saw in Capital Crime, and I think it was on Brighton Rocks, and that was with Eddie Griffiths and Jack Jordan. And you didn't realise I hadn't realised what a capital of crime Brighton is. Incredible,
yeah,
isn't it?
So many good crime authors there.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So moving on from festivals and things, I'm going to ask you one of our book group's favourite questions, which is, have you ever acted out a scene as you've written it?
Yeah, I do that quite a lot actually. Oh, yes, I do. I did dialogue. Yeah, Dickens used to do that, didn't he? See, because if it's a particular scene that, yes, I do tend to do that a bit. You can see I do this a lot anyway. If it's a particularly dialogue intensive thing, and I write a lot of interview transcripts as well, and they're quite script like. I quite like the dialogue. I do like dialogue's my favourite thing actually. I think terrible at description. I love dialogue.
So if In the Blink of an Eye was adapted,
sorry,
if In the Blink of an Eye was adapted for TV or film or something like that, would you want to write the script?
Well, it's been optioned for TV. Ooh. So Neil Street Productions, they make Called the Midwife. Sam Mendes company owns it, so they've optioned it already. So I think I'm accounted as an associate producer. So I've met with the team and had a few meetings and bouncing ideas around and stuff. But yeah, so fingers crossed. Whether option films ever get actually made as a whole different thing. It will hopefully be a TV series, but yeah, lots of things at option never get made. So just crossing my fingers, really.
It's exciting though, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very. That happened very early on, actually. So it went on submission in March 21, and about a month after Simon Schuster bought the book, Neil Street optioned it or bidded to option for it for TV. So even before it was a proof or anything, it got snapped up. So that was probably one of the most exciting days of my life, actually. I didn't even know it had been sent out to producers. Yeah.
That must have been really exciting.
Yeah, it came completely from the blue. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about who'd play the characters?
I don't want to say in case somebody else gets the part. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
shall we change the question? So Sam's favourite version of that question is what would you play?
what would I play? I'd
Yeah,
play.
you could be one of the characters.
I'd play the middle-aged widow detective. Yeah. I don't know who'd play Locke. I'd love that to go to an unknown actor, actually, 30-something or a younger, unknown black actor who's got quite a blank thing, no preconceptions about them. Because I think it's quite a hard role to play that because it is a machine. So but I don't know. It's other people's. That's our speciality, casting, isn't it? Although I have said to the producers, I do tend to find a lot of. I do love crime drama, but some of them with female leads, they always look really miserable and haggard. And I would love to see a bit more of a positive middle-aged female role model. Because what I try and show with Kat is that life can be hard, particularly at our age. My life's been hard. A lot of the people, listening, lives are hard, but it doesn't mean we're always miserable all of the time. We can still have energy, and you can be strong at work and go home and cry. That's what it is to be human, actually. So trying to show a well-rounded human individual. It's like I love Kate Winslet in Mare of Easttown, for example, things like that. Yeah.
Sarah has asked if you've got a favourite author or series of books that you like to read.
I have, but they're all my favorite. I love it all. I hate picking like absolute favorites, but yeah, go-to people. I say Mike Craven. I love his series. I love Kate Atkinson, Susie Steiner, who sadly passed away recently. I'm trying to think, my mind's gone blank. Fiona Cummins, her work. She's got her next one in the sort of Saul Blue series coming out. All of Us Are Broken. That's coming out this summer. There's so many. I read a lot. If you follow me on Twitter, I probably read a book every couple of days or so, and not just crime. I'll read a bit like yourself, Caroline. From different genres. So just getting to Claire Keegan. I read her Small Things Like These at Christmas, and just read Foster, and so I'm always open to new authors. Yeah, can't remember the question now. I'm just rabbiting, but yeah, I love reading Hilary Mantel. I love historical fiction. Yeah, it depends on my mood. I'm very whether the mood is. So winter makes me want to read historical fiction.
I love historical fiction.
Yeah.
Have you read Robert J. Lloyd, he writes as?
No.
He's got an amazing historical fiction series, and the detectives are, in the first one, are Robert Hooke and Harry Hunt, who was his assistant. And then in the second one, it's more Harry Hunt. But they're all like, because they've got so many real characters in, they're a great read. They're just
what century is that in? What time period?
So Robert Hooke, is it like the 1600s? Is it? At what time? So he's in the Royal Society.
Tudors, my favourite. Tudor. I'm quite obsessed about the Tudors as well, I should confess.
Might be a bit before then. It's all about science and the Royal Society.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Gosh.
Things. It's just the Civil War, and yeah. But they're all very good. There's a lot of people saying very exciting that it's been optioned for TV. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of the things you just kind of dare and hope for, because it's just, lots of things get optioned and never get. But that happened to Mike Craven. If you've heard him on interviews, I think the Perrin Tilly ones, I think they were optioned, and then a couple of years it kind of nothing happened, and they were re-optioned and nothing happened. I think this is the third time, and now they finally it's going to be made, isn't it? He's going to get something made for I think it's Netflix, but they don't always come off, and even when it does, it takes a while. But yeah, fingers crossed.
It'd be interesting to see who plays his characters.
Oh, it's also interesting how they depict it. When I met with the producers and the writer, it's interesting. They're thinking about it very visually, obviously, because it's how would you convincingly portray a holographic image, which spends quite a lot of time on the screen. So they were thinking, yeah, it might be that they'd have to maybe have a less of a central role, because how to show that without pulling people out of the narrative. Yeah, they've got to think about it visually quite differently from the book. So all that's really quite fascinating.
Would you be upset if they changed bits about the book?
It's a different creative product. So I think what you do when someone and Hilary Mantel was really good about this. When her books were adapted both for stage and screen, you're giving them the rights to your story, but they will create something new from it. So I have the essence of it. Obviously, if you've got the right team, the right writers, it will capture the essence of the ideas. But it's a different medium, so things will change, and they should change. And hopefully they'll create something even better. So they'll take it. So you have to sort of let go to an extent and say these are creative people, and they're brilliant. The meetings I've had with the TV producer, apart from the fact to be like, you meet with people like there's people from LA on the call. You're like, oh yeah, just moved to LA, but they're just really creative, and the way their brains work, it's just fantastic. You have to just say, well, these are great, clever people. They get the values and the ideas behind the book. Then you have to trust them to do what they do, which I don't have the skills for, to create something new. And fingers crossed, it's better, and it'll be different. And I imagine they will take it to a whole new level. The people I've met so far, it'll be better than the book. That's it's quite often. I don't have a snobbery about sort of books are better than screen. Yeah, I think stories are stories, and I think some of the series that are now on Netflix are just such skillful character-driven storytelling. In my 22-year-old and 80-year-old, they love Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. If you watch them, they're fantastic, nuanced, clever, emotional storytelling. So yeah, I'm happy for the right people to take it and do with it what they what they can. I might not say that when it comes out, actually. You said you'd let go. But yeah,
we'll keep the tapes for memory. So you've talked about a book 2 and a book 3. Do you know where the series would end with Locke? Do you have a finite plan?
Got an idea. Yeah, in my head, I've got an ending. I haven't discussed this meds to yet. We've got lunch soon, so I need to share my ideas ahead. So I've got an overall arc and an end point. Yeah, what I don't want to do is for it to be some traditional sort of buddy cop dynamic that just plays up endlessly, because Locke is capable of deep learning, so it has to go on a journey. It can't. Locke and Cat can't just go around in circles having the same jokes and conflicts. It's got to go somewhere and end somewhere, in my view. Although again, I might change my mind if people keep buying the book, and then I think, oh, but no, I think ideally, yeah. So yeah, but so I do have an idea.
So once you've finished the arc, wherever it finishes, we won't poke into that. What else would you like to write? Would you continue writing sort of crime that asks big questions, or would you be tempted to go into a different kind of genre completely?
I don't know. I think I'll always write. As I say, I'm quite keen to do this time slip novel, which I could do that as a crime novel, actually. So I don't know. But you probably tell I'm driven by ideas and concepts. So I think whether it's crime or something else, I do like, what interests me, excites me are questions, these big sort of questions about what it means to be human, or things about time, space, or whatever. That's what motivates me. So I'd imagine, yeah.
I think it's good. I mean, personally, I'd like there to be more kind of speculative crime out in the world. I think we need more of it as a genre, more things that ask those big questions.
Yeah, because it's a big crime. I mean, we've got so many problems now with the practice and perception of policing. So what we mean by crime, what we mean by justice, what we're looking for. So again, it's about rethinking what do we want as citizens from policing and from the justice system. What does it mean to have justice? These are really big questions that AI sort of poses, but you know, we can see now there's a bit of a crisis in confidence and trust in the police. You know, quite rightly, the way that some people within their make decisions. I don't think the crime genre can't go on. We can't ignore that. You know, more and more those issues are going to have to come into play in the books, and technology, I think, offers a way, quite a neutral way of actually unearthing how we police. So Professor Okanida, who creates Locke, she says in the book, she thinks that policing is too important to be left to humans. And I think that's a really interesting point of view.
Yeah, Leslie's agreeing with me. We should have more speculative crime. It's a chance for something unique. And I think that's interesting in like the crime genre. It's nice to have these ones that push the boundaries and are quite unique.
Yeah.
And leave you thinking. It's good to read a book that leaves you thinking.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to do actually with it. And I was surprised when I did the research, because I did think it's such an obvious idea, isn't it? I thought you'd have an AI detective. So I did think someone must have done this before, you know, and I couldn't find one. So I was surprised that it hadn't been done before, to be honest, because I had the idea in 2017. I thought, God, someone's bound to have done a lot before I get there. But no one had actually. Yeah, as far as I know, it may be their ideas. Although I did, as part of my research, rewatch Knight Rider. I think that's probably the closest. Do you remember Knight Rider with David Hasselhoff and Kit the car? Yeah, which is actually really good. If you go back and watch it, it's good old 80s TV. It's quite well made. I mean, it's out there. But again, back in the 80s, there's a lot more speculative fiction, really innovative, kind of blurring the genre, you know, Highway to Heaven, you know, couple of angels / detectives. I mean, we have done that before in the 80s, when arguably I guess there was more money going into the studios and So yeah, I'm with you. I love that kind of slightly wacky, on the edge type stuff. Yeah.
I do. I love Knight Rider.
Yeah.
And it's nice to go back and revisit those things, isn't it? That you like, sort of back in the day. We went to a fair for my husband's business before Christmas, and I got to meet Zippy, and I was just like so excited. Best day ever.
Yeah. But they age well. So at Knight Rider, I was like sort of apologising to my kids, saying this is going to be really terrible. You know, I'm sorry. You know, but I'm just doing it for research. And actually, I think this is actually really quite good. The production values, the script. I mean, it's very tongue in cheek. Like, but they knew they were like it was a bit wacky, but they did it with a very knowing, nice to. It's even the silly bits. They knew they're making silly. It's very interesting. It does stand the test of time. My personal view. But yeah. Cheesy, yeah, exactly. Sorry, someone's put there again, and then I was rewatching but my 18-year-old was working their way through the Friends thing, and then about season 4 or 5, there's Mac and Cheese, where Joey's in a sitcom with a robot that looks like he's built out of Meccano, and it's called Mac and Cheese. And I watched that about a year ago as well. I said, "Oh no, it's my book, Mac and Cheese." That was quite a funny episode.
Sam's asked you for any great TV shows you want to recommend.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, Happy Valley. I'm loving Happy Valley. How good is that? I mean, I don't know if you watch it, but
don't have a TV license.
Oh right, it is amazing. It's such brilliant writing. It's all come together, isn't it, in season 3? We've got to wait a whole week, so I'm watching season 2 again in between while I'm waiting for Sunday's episodes. But again, that is great writing. And Sarah, the character Sarah Lancaster plays, that's trying to the writer was on the other day saying she tried to show a woman who was, you know, naturally quite joyful, but has had a really tough life, and how it's dragged her down a bit. She said in the last episode, "I never used to be sad." You know, it's just brilliant writing. I love it. I love it.
I'm watching on Netflix Lucifer. It's about the devil.
Yeah.
Comic books, but not very. Just the comic books are really different. Like the characters have the same names, and that's about it.
Yeah. So we're still watching Better Call Saul with my kids, which again is brilliant, but yeah, quite dark. Midnight Mass. Did you ever see that? I thought that was brilliant. That's again quite unusual, quite cross genre, but did love that. No, I do love good series.
Would you
Mork and Mindy? Sorry, someone else said Mork and Mindy. I still love that as well. See, can you never get this show's made now, would you?
No, well, no. Oh, we've lost Jo. Hopefully, she'll pop back in a bit. Sarah, I liked Alf as well. It was a really good choice. Any 80s, you can't beat any 80s TV show. I only have Jo on Twitter, so hopefully we'll tell her that we've lost her and see if she can come back. What am I reading at the moment? I am reading a monk book from the TV show. They're just a nice. It's been a long week and I needed something to help me relax. And I haven't picked a second book yet because I was reading Children of Memory, which is the third book in a series about terraforming other planets and what happens. There are sentient spiders in one of them. It's brilliant. Jo is back. You're back.
I'm sorry. I said Mork and Mindy, and clearly that triggered something. I was reading Mork and Mindy, and I was thrown out. I'm sorry.
Sam asked me what I was reading at the moment. So what are you reading at the moment?
I am reading an early proof of the next book by Amanda Reynolds. And if you ever saw Close to Me, that was on the TV, it's a TV adaptation recently. It's a fantastic film. So I'm reading her next book. Which I'm just trying to remember what the title of it is now. I saw that, but so I'm just trying to focus. I'm reading that, but it is brilliant. The Assistant. That's it. Yeah, and I think that's going to be out this April. And that's that's about someone who goes to live, becomes someone's assistant, a sort of wealthy celebrity influencer Instagram type person, and they assist. Someone gets a job as their living assistant, but doesn't mean this woman very well at all. And it's told after whatever's happened, but halfway through it is told after something terrible's happened through a series of sort of interviews and trying to piece it all together. It's really quite sinister and funny. It's excellent. So that's what I'm reading at the moment.
Brilliant. I was about to ask you before you disappeared if you would make a graphic novel version of your book, or you'd be interested in.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the skills to, but yeah, absolutely. My 18-year-old's a massive graphic novel fan, anime, manga, all of that as well. So I think yeah, it's beautiful. It's also about storytelling, isn't it? You know, and some of those are so beautifully drawn and succinct, emotional works of art. So yeah, I'd be honoured. I hadn't thought about that actually. That would make a brilliant graphic novel, I think. Anybody wants to give it a go.
You really would. It really would. I love them.
Yeah.
So did my massive pile of books earlier, and at least
Yeah.
the furthest one has loads of graphic novels on it.
Wow. Yeah. No, they're brilliant. God, I hadn't thought about that before. You're right. It would be amazing.
Yeah. It really would.
Yeah.
And I think you could see Locke quite well.
Yeah, that's what I'm just thinking. Yeah, exactly. I can see how it'd be hard to link to the screen, but actually a graphic novel would be amazing. Thank you.
Is it your book out on audio as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's I just listened to that the other night actually. So it's on in hardback. It's on Audible and Kindle. Yeah, and Peter Mendes and Paul Mendes, sorry, and Rose. Just one last name. Oh my goodness, Rose. I want to say it was a. Let me just check their names, but they've done a brilliant job. I just listened to the other night, and it's quite hard when you listen to someone else do your words. Initially, it's like, oh, that's a bit strange, but once your ear tunes in, it's really, really. I just love it. It's really good. Yeah, Paul Mendes and Rose Ackroyd. I knew it began with an A. They're the actors who've done a really brilliant job.
Did you get a say in the actors, or?
Yeah, so what they do is they send you samples. My publisher, I think they've got they brief the studio or whatever, and then they select a small number, say 3 or 4 actors who might fit that bill, and they send you clips of them, and you get to listen to them and say which one you prefer. And then actually with the male narrator, I didn't want any of them. I thought it was wrong that well, when I say that all the suggestions were all white, and I think that was right. So and I challenged that, and they absolutely agreed. And so I found it both working with my publisher, both the cover, which I think is fantastic, that took quite a lot of work. They listened to my views. We collaborated to create the cover, the voices. I've been very, very lucky that I've had a lot of say, I think, in almost everything. It's been like teamwork. It's been really good.
That is really good.
Yeah, I know not everyone has that experience, but I've had nothing but positive for Simon Schuster, Kathleen Armstrong, my editor, Richard Valestra, the marketing lead, Jess Barrett, my PR thing. They've made suggestions. I say, oh, what about this? We just bounce ideas off each other and say, oh, good point, or and I listen to them. It's been really good.
Leslie wants to know if Locke is an automated voice on the audio.
No, so Rose Ackroyd is the main narrator, so she gives it a different voice. So she's the main narrator. So she'll do the narrator's voice, but also do a different voice for Kat, for Locke, for McLeish, for all the different characters. And then Paul Mendes does the voice of there are people in there are alternating chapters where someone's obviously in some sort of I'm trying not to give too much away, constrained capacity, and you're not sure what's happening to them. So I think because in the book, so I was surprised we had 2 voices. I thought, oh, why is that? That was not a play, but they explain because in the book, when there are these other scenes narrated by somebody who we don't know who it is, we can show in italics, so it's a different voice, you're somewhere else, and you can say the date and time. But for audio, you wouldn't. If it was just Rose Ackroyd reading it all the way through, then you wouldn't know that it was a different character. So we've got a different voice for that.
Well, we've got 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Show us off the book.
Sorry?
We've got 2 minutes left. Show us the book again.
Oh, yeah, sorry. In the blink of an eye. So, yeah, I hope people like it. But so if you don't normally read sci-fi, a lot of people say, even though they don't normally like sci-fi, they do really enjoy it. So I think it's got quite broad appeal. So do give it a go if you haven't read it yet. That'd be great. Thank you.
And then Sarah is going to Bay Tales, so she says, looking forward to seeing you at Whitley Bay.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, it's my first festival. And it's supposed to be a beautiful place as well. I'm really looking forward to that.
Good. I hope lots of people come and see you and you get lots of books.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. This is my first live Facebook interview, so I'm really, you asked me months ago, didn't you, Caroline? Ages ago.
I did, because I got the proof and I was really excited because I love speculative fiction.
Yeah.
So I was like, I am booking the author in for an interview.
Yeah, you're first out of the trap, so thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody.
You're more than welcome. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Bye.